Hello boys and girls, this is Mr. Sutherland here, and we're going to be going over the cello part on 4.4 Spooky Ghosts and Goblins. Now obviously if you don't play cello, this is not going to be for you. Go to a different video and check that video out for your instrument. So with that being said, let's go over 4.4 Spooky Ghosts and Goblins on the cello part. If you know how to play this already, this will just be a review for you at the very beginning, and then you can just play with me 60 beats per minute as we have here with the metronome here in a second. And then if you didn't have a really good easy time playing that with me, then you can just go ahead and watch the rest of the video to go step by step, fingering for this whole exercise. So with that being said, let's get started. We're playing again 4.4, which is page 33 of your Measures of Success book. Spooky Ghosts and Goblins. This is played mysteriously, and it's supposed to be the theme of it very scary and spooky to the very end where it jumps out at you, if you remember correctly. Alright, let's get our metronome set, and let's play. Start from the beginning. First finger on the E string. 1 and 2 and set and play. And there you have it. That's the whole exercise. Now, if you notice, you could barely hear me on the recording, and then you heard some parts are really loud compared to others. That is called playing with dynamics, or dynamics overall. And that is the adjustment of the volume in the piece to go from loud to soft and back and forth. Alright, so let's go over this piece just rhythmically first, clapping and counting the rhythm that you see on the board behind me or in your instrument book. And let's first put our instrument down and our bows away. And let's get to playing this exercise, clapping and counting with the metronome, starting from the very beginning. If you don't remember how to clap and count, please refer to another video that goes over rhythm. Here we go. This is 4.4 Spooky Ghosts and Goblins. Let's get our metronome started, and let's clap and count the rhythm. I'll snap for the clap, and I'll point to the note that I'm counting. Here we go. 1, 2, set, and go. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, rest, 3, rest. Alright, so it's that simple. And then we're going to try doing the same exact thing, clapping and counting, and we're going to go over the dynamic portion. Now, dynamics means, again, the loud or soft playing in your music, and it sometimes interchanges. In this case, we have two different dynamics that I've learned in class. First being P, which stands for piano, meaning to play soft or a light bow, and maybe even less bow than you normally use when you play other things. Such as just other exercises. We use the whole bow. You probably use less amount of bow when you're playing. And then for forte, which is F, labeled by an F like we have here at measure 4 of your exercise, and that means to play loud with a little bit more pressure and more vigor with your bow to make it louder sounding. So let's go over how that applies to our music. When there's a P labeled, that means piano. That means you play from wherever that P is or wherever that letter is, dynamic marking, until you see another dynamic marking later on in the music. So in this case, we have a P, a piano at the very, very beginning, meaning that the first note and everything up until a new dynamic marking is played softly. So all these three measures are played piano, softly, because there's no other dynamic marking here other than the very first one, which was piano. At measure 4, we change to forte, which meaning to play soft, with more vigor, right, loudly. And we play that measure only forte. The reason being we play only that measure forte is because when you jump to the second line, measure 5, we jump back to P, piano, and we go back to a soft sound. And again, we continue on, in this case, for 3 measures plus about 2 beats, right? playing piano. Even though it says forte later on, it does not mean the first note is played forte. It still means that the piano is carried over. That dynamic marking is only going to be going up until this first note here, and then we change to forte for that very last note. We do not play forte anywhere here except for that last note in the second line. All right, so with that in your head, let's clap and count the same we would probably play it. It's loud and soft, all right? So I'm going to have the metronome going. We're going to do the same thing we did earlier by clapping and counting the rhythm, but now we're going to say it loud or softly, depending on the dynamic. So let's get started. Here's our metronome. Again, I'm going to snap for the clap, and I'll point to the note we're talking about. We're going to start on piano, meaning to sing, in this case, softly. 1, 2, clap and count. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. Soft. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 3. Okay? So you can try that by yourself. Again, in this videos, you can always stop the video, rewind, or just worry and play by it by yourself. You can always stop the video and just stop listening to me talk altogether if it's getting too monotonous. And just watch it again later, but I hope you watch the whole thing to get every little bit of information that you can. All right, moving on. Now let's go over the notes. All right, if you haven't done so already, please label all your notes accordingly. So let's look at our music here. And I'm going to get this little cursor thing off real quick so it's out of the way. And then zoom in just a little bit to look at our piece. All right, so we're going to label each and every pitch note for note, starting with measure 1. Let's use a blue color marker here. And measure 1, we're playing a first finger E on the D string. So I'm going to write a number 1 and put a letter E here to remind ourselves that these first 4 eighth notes are all E's. The next note is an F sharp. Again, we know it's F sharp because in the key signature, it tells us that there's a sharp sign here, meaning that all the Fs are sharp. We're in the key of G. Then we see here that, that later on we have an actual F. There's no sharp sign next to it, but the key signature already indicated that that F is indeed a sharp. Let's get the brightness turned down just a little bit. And let's look at the next pitch, which is a B. That's going to be 1 finger on the A string. And by the way, F sharp is 3 fingers on the D string. Moving on. Again, we go back to E 1, 2, 3, 4 times. That's played as eighth notes. That's 1 finger on the D string. Moving on, we're going to be going to a C. This is going to be going through the G string below. Okay? So this is a pitch C, which is 4th finger on the G string. And then to a B, 3rd finger on the G string. Again, this is the string below. We're still working on that in class, and I know that's a new concept still we're trying to get used to. All right, next measure, we're going to go to an E again, 1st finger on the D string, F sharp, which is 3rd finger on the D string, a G, 4th finger on the G string, and back down to an E, 1 finger on the D string. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to a B again, like we had earlier. 1 finger on the A string, that's a B. Then an open, put a 0 for open A. Afterwards, we'll go to the D string, play a 4th finger G, to a 3rd finger, again F sharp. Even though it doesn't say sharp next to it, we know it's sharp because of the key signature. I'm going to get a different color for the next line so that we can see the difference a little bit. We're going to go back to an E in the measure 5. And again, if you can tell, this melody is actually the same exact melody as you had at measure 1. Dynamics and all, even articulation. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go to this measure 6. We have a high D. This is 4th finger, played twice on the A string. Let's move these notes out of the way so it makes some extra room. High D, and then we go to a 3rd finger C sharp, also played twice. 2 1 finger B's, quarter notes, played play twice, but as quarter notes. Going on to measure 7, we are playing an open A 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then we go to a G, 4th finger G, play twice, to an F sharp, 3 fingers. And then at the very end, of course, we play E, E, both with 1 finger on the D string. Great. So with at all labeled out for you, if you have done that already. If you didn't need to, great. That means you already are reading your music as you're supposed to. But this was just a little check to make sure that you have known, that you understand the pitches for your instrument and the figurines for the cello. All right. So if you haven't done so, I'm going to erase this now to get off the board, to get all this craziness out, and we can go over other stuff. Erasing, erasing, erasing. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Great. Now let's go measure by measure, plucking and bowing the rhythm and the pitches together. We're going to pluck and sing the notes and then add the bow to make sure we get the right articulations, and we'll talk about that again later. All right, let's get our instruments up and our bows in hand, because remember, we like to we like to pizzicato, pluck the notes with the bow in hand, so we're ready to go immediately to a bow style. So measure 1, we have 4/8 note E's to a quarter note F sharp, and then a quarter note B. Let's go over that finger real quick. Let's get our pizzicato hands ready, right above the fingerboard, going to 1 finger E. And let's pluck and sing at this tempo. 1 and 2, and sing and pluck. E, 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 F sharp, B. Again, that's E, 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 F sharp, B. If you got that, let's add bow to it. Don't worry about any short bow, staccato, stuff like that, like it's marked in those quarter notes. I think you see that dot. If you remember that, the dot above and below the note head means to play short or staccato, a very short, light bow, and I'll show you here in a second what that's like. But first, let's make sure we get the right pitches, and let's bow the right rhythm. 1 and 2, and set and play, and let's try it again. 1 and 2, and set and play, and awesome. Now let's make sure we play that lightly, because again, we're starting piano. So we're going to use a least amount of bow as we can, while still making a pitch or a sound vibrate the string with our bow here, and use a very light touch as well. So this is what it will sound like. 1 and 2, and set and play, and notice I'm barely touching the string, and I'm barely moving my hand back and forth. As in earlier, I was using more bow altogether. Okay? Now let's try that same technique, playing piano, but also now adding the staccato markings or the staccato articulation bow technique on the quarter notes, since they have a dot above the note heads. Okay, and to play that, we're going to lift the bow short and sweet right above those quarter notes. So as I play the F sharp, I'm going to let the bow just lightly lift off, and then gently touch the next string and lift that bow up as well, just kind of gliding it above. And now let's play that together. So I'm going to lean forward just a little bit, and bring this up a little higher so you can see. 1 and 2, and set and play, and try again. Ready and play, and all right. Now we have measure 1. If you got that, let's move on to measure 2. Measure 2, this is what I was talking about earlier, where we're playing first finger E 4 times, and we're dropping down to 4th finger C on the G string, and then 3 finger B on the G string as well. Rather than going up on the strings, we're going back down, backwards towards the lower strings. Let's try measure 2 together by plucking and singing first. 1, 2, sing and pluck. E, 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 C, B. Try it again. Ready and sing. E, 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 C, B. Awesome. If you got that, let's add bow. Let's also remember to play light bow, because we're still piano, and using the 2 staccato bow techniques for the 2 quarter notes, C and B. 1, 2, set, and play. Again, ready, and play. All right, make sure we're dragging that bow just a little bit to get that staccato sound, and then lifting the bow gently away from the string, but not all the way, because you still got to play other notes a lot faster, so we don't want to get it too far away from the strings. All right, next we're going to go to measure 3. Again, these are all staccatos, and they're going to be played chord notes. Now, just because they're staccato chord notes does not mean you play them faster. You just play them shorter by still keeping the chord note rhythm. So here's measure 3, playing E, F sharp, G, E. Here we go. 1, 2, bowing. Ready, and play. E, F sharp, G, E. Notice I play that lightly as well. I played piano. I didn't play forte. Try again. Ready, and play. E, F sharp, G, E. Awesome. If you got that, let's move on. Go into measure 4. Here we have tied notes, 2 tied notes in pairs rather, and we are going to start with a B to an open A. Let's play those first 2 chord notes together. We're using a B to open A, all played with the same direction bow, and as indicated here on measure 4, a down bow. So let's play with our first finger on the A string, starting from the frog end of our bow, and gonna play both quarter notes in one direction. 1, 2, ready, and B, A. Try again. 1, 2, ready, and B, A. Now I gave a little bit more pressure and speed on the bow, so that way I can play forte. Okay? Now let's go to the next 2 pair, or the next 2 notes in that pair, and that is an up bow marking, as you can see from that V shape, and that's G to F sharp on the D string, 4 to 3. So let's start from the tip of our bow. Again, using a little bit of heavy pressure to get that forte sound and speed up the bow, but there's still quarter notes, so don't speed up the movement between your fingers. 1, 2, ready, and try again. Ready, 2, 3, and G, F sharp. All right, now let's play the whole measure together. B, A, G, F sharp. 1, 2, forte. Ready, and all right, and that's how you slur them. Let's go now to measure 5, right behind me. It's the same as measure 1, so we'll skip that. We already know how to play that. Go to measure 6. Now, a quick little note. When you play measure 6 and you jump up to a higher pitch, the natural tendency is to want to play it louder. We're still at a piano marking as indicated right at the beginning of measure 5. So we don't want to use too much bow to make that sound too much louder than the rest of the notes. All right, so be cautious of that when you get to a high D in the measure 6, that you're still using a piano bowing. All right. Now the measure here is C sharp or D, D, C sharp, B, B. And to play it quickly, it sounds D, D, C sharp, B, B. All right. D, D, C sharp, B, B. Or a little bit slower. D, D, C sharp, B, B. Let's try it. Let's bow. See if we can try it. 1 and 2 and set and play softly. Again, lifting the bow just a little bit for staccato. Ready? Again. And. All right, moving on. Now we have a different rhythm here. And play with an open string. We finally get to do that again. And that is A, G, G, F sharp. Notice I'm plucking to get you the sound it correctly, and then we can add the bow to that. So let's try singing and plucking together again. 1 and 2 and measure 7. Go. A, G, G, F sharp. All right, make sure you get that together. Then let's add bow. The chord notes so far have always been staccato, so make sure you play those staccato. And we're still at piano. 1 and 2 and set and play and. Okay. Then we go on to measure 8, which is just a down bow E, short, staccato, rest, and then a very aggressive staccato without pushing too hard, because you only want to play one string, not all three of these strings next to each other. Just a really faster bow to make it louder. Alright, so you have E, soft, and forte. Let's try this all together now at 55 beats per minute and see if you got anything out of it. Setting our metronome down to 55. And I'll add the 8th note click as well, so you can keep the separation nice and even. Let's play the whole thing. Ready? 1 and 2 and set and play. And that's it. All right. So if you got that, great. If not, please practice this again, rewind it, and see if anything could change to make it better for you. Otherwise, if you have anything that's confusing and you need to ask me a question, please email me or I'll see you later in class. All right, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.